Good evening and welcome. You're watching Newsbreak. We would like you to take a look at this image. This is something which was banned in 1993, then banned again in 2013, then the Supreme Court judgment came in 2014, and yet it continues to happen. The only question that we'll ask today: when will this nightmare end? What exactly is this for those who do not know? When you and I live in cities, villages, towns, are you aware that people are manually cleaning and disposing of human excreta and other waste? The manual cleaning of dry latrines, open drains and sewers. This practice was officially banned in India since 1993. In 2013, there was an act which aimed to eliminate the practice to rehabilitate workers. But the problem is that most civic bodies do not have machines for cleaning sewage waste. Workers are required to enter underground sewage lines through manholes, and that is what is called manual scavenging. Physically, a human being goes inside the gutter to clean human excreta and waste, which is still happening right now. Unskilled laborers are illegally hired at a daily wage, and what would they do? They're so poor and stuck in this caste matrix that they have no other job to do, and they think that, okay, for 2 hours, 3 hours, let's take this job up. Manual scavenging is historically associated with the caste system in India. There are certain castes that are forced into occupations which are considered unclean, and yes, it happens even now in 2023. Now, why have we suddenly decided to talk about this? You see, there are some details and data that has been released by the government. Of the total number of deaths in sewers and septic tanks, this is government data. According to the government, in 2018, 67 people died. 2019, 117 people died. In 2020, 22 people died. In 2021, remember 2020 was the Corona year. In 2021, 58. 2022, 66, and so far, according to official data, by the way, 9 people have died. Now let's tell you the states with the worst track record, and we are taking 2022 as the sample. This is the year where 66 people died. Haryana topped with 17 deaths. Number 2 was Maharashtra with 15, Tamil Nadu with 13, Uttar Pradesh with 8, 6 such deaths in Delhi, the national capital, 4 in Gujarat, 3 in Andhra Pradesh. And this, by the way, is the official number of deaths. Imagine how many died, and that figure is not even known. Now, what exactly is the position of on manual scavenging? There is a ban on manual scavenging, but reality is in front of you. Look at the number of deaths. No person can be employed for manual scavenging since 2013. The National Action for Mechanized Sanitation Ecosystem was launched, called the Namaste scheme. 70 crore rupees were allocated in 2022 and 2023 for rehabilitation of sanitation workers. The push for mechanized cleaning in sewers and septic tanks was made. Subsidies were introduced for purchase of sanitation equipment. Occupational safety training was initiated for sanitation workers, but the government is yet to achieve the aim of 0 fatalities in sanitation work. And how exactly do you think that will happen when the job of cleaning up human excreta of 140 crore people rests on the hands of a few? And we are trying to adopt technology by spending very little on the human waste of 140 crore people. So thus, we ask the following big questions. Haryana, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu they top in manual scavenging deaths. The most important question is, what action has been taken against these states? What actions are these states taking? It is shameful that they top the charts. Number 2, despite a ban, why is manual scavenging still rampant? Remember, the first ban came in place in 1993, then in 2013, then a Supreme Court verdict in 2014. The most important question, why has zero fatalities, that target, not been met yet? Imagine, first banned in 1993, the latest ban came in 2013. So even if you take the latest ban, there is 10 years since that ban, and yet we have not achieved zero fatality target, even in the year 2023, where according to official government data, 9 deaths have taken place. When will this nightmare end, is the question that we are asking. Bezwada Wilson is the founder and national convener of the Safai Karamchari Andolan. Mr. Wilson, despite a ban, manual scavenging is still happening and causing deaths. How do you view this?
So the problem is the government is not accepting there is a deaths are happening in the country. They are in the denial mode for the past almost like so many years. And we have given the memorandums many times. The only thing is the people who are dying belongs to the most marginalized and particularly scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and all. So that's the reason the government is not taking this as a serious matter. So we say that all lives are matter, but actually the most marginalized people, when the life they lost, the government is not taking as a serious at all.
Mr. Wilson, government has said in the past few years more than 300 people have died. Do you feel that this in itself is a telling commentary on how we have failed?
Immediately it has to be identify the people who are there in the country who are doing as an sewage and septic and cleaning. The government is saying that nobody is cleaning, there is no manual scavenging. When the people die, they come under 300 and 400. But the numbers are also isn't a false. Actually, it is a more than the 500 people died in the 5 years. They are saying that within a 1 year, it is only 9 people died. And there is a data state very clearly with us. 57 people we lost within this 1 year till now. So the government always underestimate the numbers, or they don't agree, or they don't accept the life of the people of the Safai Karamchari. So they have to come with a comprehensive action plan by the Prime Minister. In that level, if they don't work, it is impossible to eradicate the manual scavenging or stop the deaths in the sewage and septic.
Are you, Mr. Wilson, trying to suggest that the actual number of deaths is much more than government data?
Yes. What they said in the parliament is completely false. And we have reported. And each and every death when it happens, we are reporting. At least they can keep count the letters what we are sending. That's enough, they can announce well. But why they misleading the parliament by giving the false numbers?
Now, one way of ending manual scavenging is definitely adopting new technology. The government says that they are investing in easy adoption of this technology and also subsidizing it. I want to know from you, where do we stand on this issue of adopting new technology?
See, definitely we need a new technology, but the technology should be more advanced, and where it is really take the whole, whatever is the problem, everything to be solved. That we cannot depend on the colleges, ITIs and the students to develop a technology to clean the whole problem of the 130 crore people of this country. The problem which we are thinking about is not a small. So Chandrayaan say this is a much more bigger the problem. So we need a dedicated scientist, and everybody must. For that, the central government has to establish a sanitation technological institute, and they have to work on the continuously. By leaving all those things, they just announce one program, the finance minister comes, and after next year, the same reading again the back. The last year what they read, the same they are reading, and we are bringing the technology, How long you will bring the technology? When you want any technology, you are adopting there is a technology available in this great country. There is no dearth for the technology. They are not adopting the technology because the people who are dying, they are not taking as a serious.
Okay, Mr. Wilson, many thanks for joining us, and you raised some extremely crucial points. Shankar Agarwal is the former Secretary of Ministry of Urban Development, Suhas Chakma, Director of Rights and Risks Analysis Group, and Jagmati Sangwan is a social activist. Ms. Sangwan, I want to begin with you first. 70 crore rupees were allocated in 2022-23 for rehabilitation of these sanitation workers. Do you think for a country as huge as ours, where we are dealing with disposing human waste of 140 crore population, an amount like 70 crores, or the pace at which we are trying to suggest that we are adopting technology is fast enough? Are we serious in our handling of this problem?
No, the allocation of money itself shows that we are not serious enough to eliminate this practice, although it is a banned practice. But at the same time, what we are observing that this practice is attached to the caste system. Yeah. Valmiki Samudaya, they will be doing this scavenging work, and even though there is a law, but the Prime Minister of India in 2019 in Kumbh Ka Mela, he said that these Valmikis have some Davya Shakti. That is why they are continuing with this practice. It is not due to the employment consideration. It is this mindset which is not allowing this practice to be banned in practical sense. This mindset needs to be amended actually, and the very valid question raised by you, when this nightmare will end. Really, it's a nightmare, and it will end when the government spends on this aspect sufficiently. Every day we are observing here the data given by the Social Justice Ministry is official data, but the numbers are quite lot more than this, and there is no provision of ex gratia for these people. There is no provision of compensation, and they are all contractual workers. That is why they have been being treated in that way, and the loss of 339 individuals for a banned practice shows that there is no willpower in the country.
And 339 is the official number. As Mr.
Yes.
Wilson was saying, this is the official number. We don't even know the number of people who have died. Cases have not been reported, and all those people who continue this practice and have not died. The point is, manual scavenging itself, we are only reporting the deaths. Imagine the number of people employed in this practice still. Shankar Agarwal, I want to come to you now, and I want to ask you, what is preventing the government from treating this as a huge national emergency and thus initiating modernization plans?
You see, a thing will get done only when it can be measured. And measured means basically the accountability and responsibility. As you said in your opening remarks and comments, that this law was created way back in 1993. Thereafter, 2013, we had been, and the government had been reiterating that the manual scavenging is banned under law. But second question is, and which is more important, whether we are able to implement these orders and law into letter and spirit or not. And the fact of the matter, as you are saying, 339 people have died in this particular area. That means we have not been implementing it in the right spirit. And the reason for that is that there is lack of responsibility and accountability. The moment you hold municipal bodies or the municipal commissioner or the administrator responsible and accountable for every death that happens because of the manual scavenging, it will get done. You would recall that at some point of time in the past, the Supreme Court said And even the government said that any death because of hunger would be treated as a dereliction of duty on the part of the district magistrate. Similarly, we got to make our municipal administrator and the mayors and other officials responsible and accountable for this job, number one. Number two, when we look into the work of scavenging, it is not a highly visible kind of a work. If you create new lighting, if you lay a new road, people will appreciate, people will be able to see what is being done by the municipal body. On the other hand, nobody is bothered about the manual scavenging. So we got to create awareness about this at every fora. And third, we got to create an SOP and ways and means of achieving this particular objective. SOP means the standard operating.
Exactly. So ask Chakma, you see, Mr. Agarwal is talking about the criminality of it, holding the authorities accountable, holding these contractors accountable who are then subletting it to people. They're obviously from a poor background and they think that it's let's quickly earn some money. But the point is, while criminal action is one way to look at it, the other is if you adopt technology and if you don't make it lucrative at all, like for instance, it is extremely, one, you of course punish those who are dealing in this. And number two, technology is made so cheap and so affordable that it will not make any commercial sense to employ people to do this. Well, we're dealing with a very complex problem. Caste, a certain caste, people from a certain caste only employed in these jobs. Just don't make it lucrative. Technology should be that cheap.
I think the problem is so huge that the efforts of the government of India actually do not match with the requirements or the intensity of the problem. The aim of the government of India is to declare the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan successful and in the process actually hide the entire problem. And if you look at the data of the government of India, in 2019, when the survey was done, it was about 58,000 people who were identified as manual scavengers. And the number of people who are reported to be dead, it's very underreported, simply because whenever that takes place, you bribe the officials, then they will report it as an accident and it ends there. So when you talk about the seriousness of the government of India, only last year in 2022, the Ministry of Railways declared that railways are, manual scavenging free. So at least 2019, 2020 onwards, up to then, despite the ban of the manual scavenging, railways themselves, we are using the manual scavenging. So when the railways itself took about 7 years to adjust with the technology, and use the technology to do away with the manual scavenging, if what has been reported or what has been stated in the parliament is true, then you can imagine how much time it will take in the entire country. And if you look at the states, Maharashtra, which is the capital, the business city of India, Delhi, National Capital Territory, Tamil Nadu, one of the highest states with highest GDP. So in all these areas, you have the manual scavenging deaths. So what we are trying to do is underreport and say that, there are no manual scavenging. It's like we have abolished untouchability under the Constitution of India. But untouchability is very alive. So the manual scavenging is also very alive. So you have to adopt technology. You have to allocate more resources. At the end of the day, people are not, so much scared of the law. And what is the punishment? Maximum, 6 months punishment. And nobody and no government has ever reported how many cases we are registered. If 300, cases or 353 cases were reported, how many FIRs have you registered? How many prosecutions have you done? And in fact, about a month back, when the meetings of the Social Welfare Ministry took place, you could see that the Deputy Commissioner and District Magistrate themselves are not reporting to the governments, whether it's the state government of Maharashtra or Madhya Pradesh or Gujarat. Gujarat is a model state, but you have huge number of deaths from Gujarat. So you could see that, district magistrates do not care anything about directions which are being issued by the ministry, the central government. So if that's the attitude, you could imagine, how the situation is on the ground. To eradicate the manual scavenging, you require to rehabilitate, these lakhs of people who are engaged in
and do you think this amount, and I asked this question of Ms. Sangwan just a short while ago, this amount of 70 crore rupees allocated in 2022-2023 for rehabilitation of these workers, is this really enough or is this a joke?
That's a joke. I mean, if the government of India in 2019 itself found that there are 58,000 people who have actually been notified or, identified as manual scavengers, and you can imagine, how much each family is getting. Is that the way to rehabilitate? So I think the government has no seriousness. The whole effort of the government of India is to show that, the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is successful, etc., etc. Look, by claiming certain districts are manual scavenging free, sorry, you would have those kind of reports coming up. I mean, in the heart of Delhi, manual scavenging deaths are regularly reported. And neighborhood of Delhi, Haryana has the maximum number of deaths. You just have to remember one thing, that there are so many deaths in this country which are not reported. And a death of a manual scavenger, unless it's, a news person covers it, it never makes news. It will be reported as an accident. So those accidents will never be reported. So I think the allocation by the central government is absolutely inadequate, and they have no intention whatsoever, to eradicate manual scavenging. And that's why if you look at the Prohibition of Manual Scavenging Act, you can penalize the contractor, the person who actually hires manual scavenger. Fair enough. And what is the penalty for the officials who do not perform it? And if that is the case, then the officials in the railways would have been prosecuted. Seriously, from 2013, railways we are using manual scavenging. They should have been prohibited.
Miss Sangwan, I just did a quick math based on what Mr. Chakma is saying. Obviously, there will be more people who will be employed in this practice because we do not have an official number. But if we go by the government's own estimate, Mr. Chakma says there are 58,000.
Yes,
right?
It's reported in the newspaper.
And 70 crore rupees allocated for these 58,000 comes to about 8,000 rupees per person. That's not even the monthly salary of anyone. That is the amount of money we are looking at spending on rehabilitation.
Yes.
What
really,
is this?
it's a joke, and at the same time, Sanket, we have to note that there is a serious problem of unemployment. Recently, here in Haryana, a strike was going on of these sewermen, and we were there supporting them.
By the way, Haryana tops the list.
Yes, unfortunately, I am from this state, and at that time we observed that the contractor, he wanted to have lesser number of sewermen, and they were fighting for their job. Even for this dangerous profession, they are ready to come and give their services. That is why the government observing this thing, that when they are getting the workers on such meager wages to work for this job, then why will they spend on the machinery? Why will they spend on the rehabilitation aspect of the workers? That is also a dimension of this problem. And majorly, I feel that it is the mindset which is related to the Valmiki caste, that they are meant for this job only. So they will be doing, and their lives don't matter for the high-ups here in the administration and in the power.
Correct. Mr. Agarwal, you see, 1993 is when the first time the ban happened. Right, that was 30 years ago. Then 2013 was the last time when we heard of this ban, which is 10 years ago. So let's go by 1993. For 30 years, We as a country have not been able to ensure zero fatalities.
Absolutely, Saket. As I said earlier also, unless you make administrators and the municipal corporate officials responsible and accountable, nothing much will happen. You see, you can have a law, but as long as it is only on a piece of paper, it will never get implemented. We had to take very stern action, and we had to issue instruction, maybe from the government of India, that any death because of the manual scavenging will be treated as a dereliction duty against the municipal commissioner. Thing will automatically happen, number one. Number two, I said we have to create a lot of awareness. Unless we create awareness, this kind of this, as ma'am is saying about the mindset. How do you change mindset? It is only by creating awareness. Every job is a dignified work, whether it is a menial job or another job. Third, we got to use technology in a big way. It is not a rocket science. It is not very expensive.
Okay.
It is expected that a whole lot of municipal corporation and municipal bodies will be able to generate enough resources to buy these machines and
Yes,
train
yes.
these workers on those
Somehow
machines.
it is pretty
and get the
evident
things
that this is
done.
not a priority. I've completely run out of time. But thank you very much, Mr. Agarwal, Mr. Chakma, as well as Ms. Sangwan. As we end this broadcast, we're leaving you with this thought one more time and that image on screen. There is someone out there who is manually cleaning and disposing your human excreta and your waste in 2023. Ask yourself this question: when will this nightmare end? Good night and goodbye.